The Peyton Watson standoff ended exactly how modern NBA economics dictated it would, with a multi-team financial liquidation. The Denver Nuggets just blinked. Rich Paul and Clutch Sports successfully turned a difficult restricted free agency negotiation into a multi-team sign and trade that sends Watson to the Cleveland Cavaliers. The final price tag? 4 years, $88 million. A fully guaranteed contract complete with a player option in the final season and a trade kicker. Mainstream sports media is treating this as a shocking, out-of-nowhere basketball transaction. But if you open the financial ledgers, this was nothing more than a highly orchestrated tax management maneuver. Denver developed a 23-year-old wing defender who can legitimately guard positions 1 through 4. He just completed his best professional season, averaging 14.6 points, 4.9 rebounds, and 1.1 blocks per game. And because Denver developed him into a valuable young wing, the second apron environment made retaining him far more expensive and complicated. Let us audit the Denver Nuggets financial ledger to understand why this corporate capitulation occurred. Fans in Denver are furious that management let an elite two-way cornerstone walk out the door. But Executive Vice President of Basketball Operations Ben Tenzer was staring directly into a financial apocalypse. Look at Denver's active payroll structure. Nikola Jokic is earning $59 million. Jamal Murray is at $50 million. Aaron Gordon takes $32 million. And Christian Braun's new extension kicks in at over $21 million. The Nuggets were already committed to over $162 million across just 4 players. Retaining Watson at roughly $22 million per year would have added significant payroll pressure and increased Denver's exposure to the restrictive second apron. The cost was not limited to salary. It also involved luxury tax consequences and fewer tools to improve the roster around Nikola Jokic. Denver's decision strongly suggests that preserving payroll flexibility and limiting second apron exposure became a central organizational priority. Ben Tenzer and Denver management chose organizational survival over roster continuity. They shipped Watson to Cleveland, acquiring a clean draft asset and reducing their team's projected tax exposure. For Denver, this was a cash clearance move dressed up as a basketball trade. They preserved their budget, but they permanently closed a critical window of their championship rotation. While Denver was shedding liabilities, the Cleveland Cavaliers operated like a desperate hedge fund attempting to cover a massive short position. Cleveland identified a need for a long, versatile wing defender, someone capable of taking difficult perimeter assignments while fitting beside its two-guard backcourt and elite interior defenders. To create the flexibility needed for Watson's new deal, Cleveland sent Max Strus to the Los Angeles Clippers, who absorbed his contract into a trade exception and sent a 2027 second-round pick back to Cleveland. Cleveland then sent Trey Mann, that Clippers' second-round pick, and cash to Washington for Cam Whitmore. Tactically, Watson is an exceptional fit for Cleveland. Imagine the defensive geometry. Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland handle the offensive workload. Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen protect the rim. And Peyton Watson gives Cleveland a credible option to take primary assignments against elite perimeter scorers. It is a brilliant basketball fit. But gutting your wing depth and sacrificing future draft capital to overpay a restricted free agent is a high-risk corporate gamble. Cleveland bought the asset they desperately needed, but they paid top retail price. Let us break down the full transaction ledger across all 4 organizations. This was a complex 4-team sign and trade built around Denver, Cleveland, the Los Angeles Clippers, and Washington. First, Denver and Watson finalized a 4-year, $88 million contract. Denver then sent Watson to Cleveland in a sign and trade. Cleveland received Watson and Cam Whitmore from Washington. Second, Cleveland sent Max Strus to the Los Angeles Clippers, who absorbed Strus using a $17 million trade exception and sent a 2027 second-round pick to Cleveland. Third, Cleveland sent Trey Mann, that Clippers' second-round pick, and cash to Washington for Whitmore. Denver received Cleveland's unprotected 2031 first-round pick, a 2032 Sacramento Kings second-round pick, and Julian Reese from Washington, whom Denver plans to waive from his 2-way contract. Denver traded a proven 23-year-old starter for future draft capital that will not convey until 2031. That is a pure corporate reset. At this point, we must conduct a tactical audit. Why did Cleveland and Denver accept such a complex transaction for a player who averages 14.6 points a game? Because modern playoff basketball is built around matchup hunting, perimeter containment, and defensive versatility. In the modern Western and Eastern Conference playoffs, elite offensive architects like Luka Doncic or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander run pick-and-roll isolations until they find the weakest defender on the floor. If you have one defensive liability in your five-man unit, your season ends in May. Peyton Watson's length, rim protection from the wing, and ability to defend across multiple matchups make him one of the more versatile young defenders on the market. At 6'8" with a 7'1" wingspan, he can contest perimeter three-pointers, navigate high pick-and-rolls, and slide down to contest shots at the rim as a weak-side helper. You do not pay Peyton Watson $22 million a year to hit step-back threes. You pay him so your multi-hundred-million-dollar offensive stars do not get exposed on national television. Defensive versatility is one of the league's most valuable roster commodities. While front offices squabble over cap room, the ultimate victor in this entire transaction sits in the agency chair. Rich Paul and Clutch Sports just delivered a masterclass in weaponizing restricted free agency leverage. This is not Rich Paul's first victory. He secured LeBron James's max deals. He orchestrated Anthony Davis's trade to the Lakers. He negotiated Draymond Green's extensions. He understands leverage better than almost anyone in the league. The negotiations extended into August, allowing Watson's representatives to evaluate interest from Milwaukee, Portland, and the Clippers before Cleveland emerged with the guaranteed $88 million deal. Rich Paul took a former 30th overall pick and extracted maximum market liquidity from a system designed to suppress his earnings. Now we must address the central question surrounding the Denver Nuggets. Is Ben Tenzer a financial genius navigating a broken CBA system, or did Kroenke Sports and Entertainment simply cheap out on a championship roster? The argument for management is purely mathematical. In the second apron era, carrying that many expensive contracts can severely restrict a team's trade flexibility, roster-building tools, and future draft pick mobility. With Jokic, Murray, Gordon, Braun, and the rest of the roster consuming most of Denver's payroll capacity, retaining Watson would have significantly increased both tax exposure and second apron restrictions. By securing Cleveland's unprotected 2031 first-round pick, Denver stocked their cupboard with an asset that will convey when Cleveland's current core is aging out. The counter-argument is brutal. Nikola Jokic is in his absolute prime right now. You do not sacrifice a prime championship season to save money on a tax bill or collect draft picks for 2031. Denver may be weaker on the wing in the short term. They replaced an elite two-way wing with cap flexibility and future promises. They chose corporate sustainability over winning rings right now. Here is the clinical audit of the Peyton Watson multi-team liquidation. Rich Paul and Clutch Sports win the negotiation outright, extracting $88 million in total contractual flexibility for their client. Cleveland wins the talent acquisition phase by securing an elite 23-year-old defensive anchor, but mortgage their depth and draft capital to do it. The Los Angeles Clippers opportunistically acquire Max Strus to patch their perimeter shooting without giving up premium core pieces. Washington uses the wider transaction to acquire guard Treeman, a 2027 second-round pick, and cash considerations. And the Denver Nuggets executed a payroll management strategy, reducing projected tax exposure while accepting the risk of being weaker on the wing in the short term. The market has settled. Competence was penalized, leverage was executed, and the tax bill was cleared. Class dismissed.